All right, Larry Krueger here at Levi
And it's
Stadium.
Taylor in at quarterback
As
for the
we
Jets.
wind down the fourth quarter of Niners-Jets, which winds down week one in the NFL. And of course, we're brought to you by Pig and a Pick, all the best
Pick
barbecue
up 3
in
yards
all of
on
Northern
play.
California. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in
Osa
Corte
on
Madera.
the
They're
tackle.
open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. Well, the Niners played this game tonight with no Christian McCaffrey and with, as they're closing in on the 2-minute warning here,
Paul, the ball
the
carrier.
Niners with a 32-13 lead. There's been 5 field goals from Jake Moody and a lot of J.P. Mason. And I'm
Campbell
happy to
and
see it
Lenore
now.
combined on the tackle.
You know, McCaffrey's got a calf/Achilles injury, and the 49ers are being extra careful with him because of the value that he brings to this team and because it is week one. So the Niners inactives today were Josh Dobbs, Christian McCaffrey, Luter Jr., Hufanga, Winters, Barch, and Yatir Gross-Matos. It looked like it was going to be a defensive struggle early on. The 49ers, Jets
That's
got the
complete
ball first,
to Conklin.
and they went 3 and out.
Brought down
And then the
by
49ers
Lenore.
got the ball, and they went 3 and out. And it looked like it was going to be a defensive slugfest, and it sure enough was. The Jets on the next possession, Aaron Rodgers threw a pass that went to Breece Hall. He fumbled. Fred Warner recovered the fumble. It was the first turnover of the day, and the Niners were in business inside the Jets' 32-yard line. But the 49ers couldn't
That's
make anything
complete.
of it, and Jake Moody would
To
kick a
Lazard.
46-yard field goal to make it 3-0. 4 plays, 3 yards
on the
in
tackle.
49 seconds. The Jets would then move down the field, and they would score on a Breece Hall 3-yard touchdown run to make it 7-3, a 12-play, 70-yard
Gain 6
drive
yards
in a
on
little
play.
bit over 7 minutes. Garrett Wilson on that drive caught 4 balls for 45 yards. He was really, really good on that drive.
Lazard, the
Niners
intended
would get it back
receiver
in
on
their
play.
third possession, and they would take it from their
Ward
30-yard
in
line.
coverage.
Purdy on 3rd and 5 found Ayuk for 14 yards to keep the drive alive. And then the 49ers, though, eventually the drive would stall, and at 4th and 8, Jake Moody kicked a 51-yard field goal to cap a 9-play, 37-yard drive to make it 7-6 New York. So New York still had the lead. Rodgers would get sacked on 3rd and 5 on the next series by Leonard Floyd. And the Jets would kick the ball back to the 49ers. The
That's
Niners,
complete
on their 4th
to
possession,
Allen.
drove it from the 33-yard line all the way down the field. It was a
Jair
12-play
Brown on the
drive.
tackle.
And then Debo, on 1st and goal from the 2, scored on a 2-yard touchdown run to make it 13-7 Niners, 12 plays, 67 yards. So now we're at the 2-minute warning, by the way. It's 32-13, 49ers closing out the New York Jets. So at that point, it was 13-7. Jets would be forced to punt on their next possession, the 3rd and 5 play. There was a penalty for an illegal formation against the Jets, so the Niners would get it back. Purdy hit Kittle for 26 yards on the
9
first play of
yards
the
on the
drive,
previous play.
and they would move the ball down the field right before the end of the first half. But once again, they had to settle for a Jake Moody 31-yard field goal because on 3rd and 10, Purdy threw incomplete to Ayuk. So the Niners 12 plays, 75-yard drive, and they go into the locker room up 16-7. If you look at that first half, Mason had 74 yards, 6.7 a carry. Purdy was 9 of 16 for 106 yards, only sacked the one time. Niners ran it 5.2 a carry in the first half. And then you look, and then defensively, 49ers, had the 1 sack from Leonard Floyd. They also had 3 hits on the quarterback. Elliott and Bosa also had hits on the quarterback. But the Niners dominated the action in the first half. 37 plays to 23 for the Jets, 210 total yards to 83 for the Jets. 18 minutes plus of time of possession to under 12 minutes for the Jets, 104 rushing yards to only 24 for the Jets. Jets could not run the ball at all in the first half, 2.3 yards a carry. Rodgers in the first half, 7 of 11 for 64 yards. He had that one drive where he connected with Garrett Wilson a number of times. Other than that, he was very quiet. 49ers then, of course, would get the first possession of the third quarter, and they had to put together a long drive, 11 plays, 70 yards, and on 2nd and goal, J.P. Mason, 2nd and goal from the 5, he went in from 5 yards out to make it 23-7. So that the big play on that drive was Purdy hit juice for a first 34-yard first down on 1st and 15 from the 37. That brought the ball right down to the goal line, and Mason plunged in. So that made it 23-7 49ers. On the next possession, the Jets Rodgers would go to Garrett Wilson. It was tipped by Lenore and intercepted by Demetrius Flanagan Fowles. So the Niners once again were in business, and J.P. Mason started to really take over. He had an 11-yard run on the next possession. The Niners moved it down the field, but on 3rd and 2, Purdy threw to Saubert incomplete. And once again, Jake Moody comes on for the 53-yard field goal to make it 26-7. Jets would get it back.
Allen, the ball
they would
carrier.
move it down the field. A-Rod found Lazard
Brought down by
on
Yano.
3rd and 8 from the 36 for a touchdown. There was an offsides on Floyd that was negated. That made it
Gain 8 yards on the play.
26-13. The two-point conversion failed. The Niners would get it back and drive it down the field again with a lot of J.P. Mason running. But Moody would kick
Pass
a
complete
23-yard
to
field goal
Wilson.
to cap an 11-play drive to make it
Ward on the
29-13.
tackle.
And that's pretty much the way it's sat. The Niners in the last possession got a Jake Moody 42-yard field goal to cap a 5-play 26-yard drive. And that put the game 32-13. And now with 1:18 left in the game, that's where it
Gain 8
sits.
yards on the play.
Overall, I would say really good performance by the Niner offensive line. Really good performance by J.P. Mason. I thought Ayuk looked a little rusty.
Pass
Debo
complete
had a
to
big
Wilson.
role in this game. Kittle had a big role.
Check
I
the
thought
penalty on
Malik
the play.
Collins played really, really well. And for the most part, I think Nick Sorensen, you got to feel really good about Nick Sorensen because Sorensen's defense, really gave Rodgers a lot of problems. They did a nice job defending Breece Hall. They didn't let Garrett Wilson go off. And they're going to get a week 1 win over this Jets team, and now they head into week 2. When you marked down that you weren't going to have Christian McCaffrey at the beginning of this game, this just became kind of a get-through-it type of a game for the 49ers. And they got
Pass
through
complete.
it. They got,
To Lazard.
I'm sure there'll be plenty for Kyle
Campbell
Shanahan
on
to
the tackle.
criticize when he looks at that film because they settled for an awful lot of field goals. I'm sure they'd like to score touchdowns and not rely on field goals. But the fact of the matter is the Niners relied on their backup
Gain of
running
4
back.
yards on the play.
And Mason was fantastic. I mean, Mason totally dominated this game. He ran strong. He had great balance. We know that he bought that Jugs gun in the offseason to improve his receiving, and it really has improved his receiving. But don't forget, this guy's a big-time power runner. And you'd have to say the 49ers were one of the most impressive teams in Week 1. To be able to put up 32 points on this Jets defense, very impressive with no CMC. So a nice win for the 49ers, and now it's on to the Minnesota Vikings. I'm going to go down into the locker room. I'll be joining John Lund, Adam Copeland, and Dennis Brown on KMBR. You can catch me there. You can catch me on YouTube for the post-game after that. But first, we'll go into the locker room and see what Shanahan has to say as the clock's down to 30 seconds before this one wraps up. 32-13, 49ers roll to 1-0. And thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krug Show. Thanks to all of you guys for supporting the Krug Show on YouTube.
Pass complete.